Yo, Beth. That shit crazy.
On a Saturday, it's All Even with your boy Barry Grant. You can catch me on Instagram and Twitter at All Even Podcast. You can listen to the show on SoundCloud as well as YouTube, Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, and wherever you find your podcasts available. And trust me, go to YouTube, hit that subscribe button, like, share, comment, because the page is growing, baby. That All Even wave. Lots to get into. NFL draft, that's the biggest news of the weekend and what's going on. We're going to talk about that. Phone a Friend is back. We got BRYSON CARVER, fellow podcaster. That's my man. We're going to chop it up about all things sports, NFL draft, and all that other stuff. And then the greatest segment on the planet, Dummy of the Week. So let's just jump right into it. Day 3 of the NFL draft is underway right now. Everything's moving fine. Everything's moving along. Teams are picking their players and filling out the bulk of their rosters for depth reasons and finding diamonds in the rough and all that stuff. But when we got started, it was Thursday, and there's a lot of optimism around this draft in regards to the quarterbacks that were in this draft, the top 5 quarterbacks, and we all knew where certain guys were going to go. We all knew that Trevor Lawrence was going to go number 1. We all knew that Zach Wilson was penciled in for the Jets at number 2. After that point, it got a little dicey. We did not really know exactly where guys were going to go. But Atlanta was the gatekeeper at 4, right? We heard that San Francisco at 3 was in love with Mac Jones. That's my guy. I was very supportive of that particular move if they were going to make it. So Thursday, the anticipation was building and everybody's waiting. And lo and behold, Zach Wilson goes number 2. And then the bomb drops. The 49ers select Trey Lance. And all hell breaks loose. All hell breaks loose. Everybody was shocked. Everybody didn't realize what the hell was going on. But I knew that what this meant was Mac Jones is going to now drop. And Kyle Pitts was going to be the number 4 pick to Atlanta. He goes 4, but then things get a little iffy. So the Bengals, who have a young quarterback in Joe Burrow, just coming off ACL surgery, has a huge scar on his knee. It's about protecting your quarterback for the next 15 years, making sure that he's upright, he's clean, he's protected, he has time to throw the football. They go Jamar Chase. Now, it's not a bad move. It's not a shock. It's not really a move that I'm saying that they couldn't have made. I understand it. I understand the LSU connection, but you had Penei Sewell there, one of the most athletic tackles we've seen. And for a franchise that has Anthony Munoz in the Hall of Fame as one of the best offensive linemen in the history of football, wouldn't you think that they would go ahead and take a guy like Penei Sewell? Wouldn't it make sense to go Penei Sewell? Because if you don't have time to throw the football, who cares who you're throwing it to? Jamar Chase, you can have Megatron, you can have Randy Moss. It doesn't matter. If your quarterback is on his back, he's not throwing the football. That's the problem. Number 6, the talented Jalen Waddle goes to the Dolphins. That was a great move for the Dolphins. They needed a big-time weapon. They got the weapon in Jalen Waddle. You know, it's coming off injury, but he's going to be healthy. He's going to be fine. That's a big-time target. It's going to be great to watch. Now, at 7, obviously, the Lions have a pick of the litter, right? They can be able to go anywhere at this point. And they took Penei Sewell, offensive tackle out of Oregon. The kid is super, super talented. I love this pick. I love this pick for the Lions. I actually love what the Lions have been doing so far in this draft. I think the Lions have had one of the best drafts so far. The Jets as well. At 8, this is where things got a little bit like, They took J.C. Horn. The Panthers took J.C. Horn. I didn't really understand it, but granted, they needed defense. They needed some secondary help. J.C. Horn is really, really talented. I'm not saying that he wasn't good enough to go here. I was just shocked that they did it. But the real kicker is the team in Denver. They need a quarterback. They traded for Teddy Bridgewater.
He's going to be their transitional guy. They hate Drew Lock. They want Drew Lock out of here. They want to give him a bus ticket and tell him to get out of town. They're not even going to give him a flight. They want him out of town on a bus. That's how much they can't stand Drew Lock right now. And what do? They go ahead and they draft Patrick Surtain, a cornerback. Great player, but that's not what they needed. They didn't need that. Now, granted, they're looking at it like, listen, we have a position of strength here. We're already good at cornerback. Let's get great at cornerback. Cool. I get that, but I still would have went quarterback here. Number 10, the Eagles take Devontae Smith. They needed a wide receiver in the worst way. This is a good move for the Eagles. Finally, they do something right because they've been botching it over the last couple years anyway. The Bears move up and trade for Justin Fields. That was a stellar move for them. I think Justin Fields, he's not ready to play right now, but in a year, he's definitely going to be ready to go. So I'm curious to see how they go ahead and do that. Obviously, Andy Dalton is a starter right now. They're going to have to hype him up. That's why they brought him in. They're not going to say that he's not going to be the guy. But if Andy Dalton struggles, I can see them going to Justin Fields. If they end up being 1-7 at one point, I can see them turning over the keys to Justin Fields to see what he has. At number 12, my Dallas Cowboys take Micah Parsons. I was beside myself on Thursday night. I wasn't happy, but once I settled in and understood that Micah Parsons, he's a really good player. I think he was probably the best defensive player in this draft. It's just that where does he fit? Is he going to be on the field right away? Is he going to be able to make an impact right away? I need to see how Dan Quinn is going to be able to put him in because that was my concern. It wasn't the fact that he wasn't talented. It was more, is he going to be able to show his talent on the field this year? Number 13, I think, was one of the best picks in the first round to me, in my opinion. Chargers getting Rashawn Slater from Northwestern. That's great. Protect my man Herbert over there. That's going to be a really, really good partnership over there. I like what the Chargers are doing. The Jets trade up and get Vera Tucker out of USC. That's also a great move for the young quarterback that they have over there. So the Jets have also been very, very impressive in this draft. At 15, and this is where I'm going to stop, top 15, the Patriots take Mac Jones. I think that this is a perfect situation for him to land in. Obviously, San Francisco would have been the more preferred destination for myself because I like Kyle Shanahan. But the Patriots have an offense that's already catered to a quarterback that's like Mac Jones. Quick decisions, quick reads, one-step drops, check downs, all of that stuff. So Mac Jones can be able to execute exactly what Bill Belichick wants. He wants the ball to be out fast. He wants a guy to understand the playbook. He wants the guy to understand the offense and what's asked of him. So Mac Jones can be able to do that. So I'm really, really excited to see what he's going to be able to bring to the table because I'm a huge fan of Mac Jones. I think he's going to be a stellar quarterback. The quarterback that I'm not a big fan of is Zach Wilson. Did y'all see the video of him like he's posing with other, prospects and they're flexing in the camera and, popping their collars and doing all of this. And he's just looking around like, what's going on here? Like, he does not look like a quarterback. He looks like a ball boy or somebody who washes the towels. That's what he looks like. And this guy is going to New York, of all places. In his division alone, there are great defense you got to deal with. The Bills, the Dolphins, the Pats. So as I said, Joe Douglas is hitting a home run in this draft. Every round they've done well. They've gotten offense. They've gotten defense. They've gotten offensive line. They've done a lot of good things here. They have to. They have to. You even heard Robert Saleh say to him, hey, listen, we're not looking for you to build us up. We're going to build you up. Yeah, you got to tell him that. You got to tell Jim McMahon that you're going to build him an 85 Bears defense. You're going to build him a great offensive line so he can't get touched. That's what Zach Wilson is to me. He doesn't look like special. He may have the attributes, the big arm, he can flush out of the pocket, have escapability. He does not look the part. He does not look like a poised quarterback. So y'all went for all of the metrics and the 40 time and all the analytical stuff when you should be worried about not being successful against good teams over 500, not being able to have a good game against teams that are over 500. He looks terrible. Terrible. But hey, the Jets are going to build him up, right? Going to prop him up, going to make sure that he's successful. Why couldn't you do that with Sam? I'm going to keep beating this Sam Darnold train until I'm proven otherwise, that he can't play, that he's not good. Because I think that what they're doing over there in Carolina, putting him with a whole bunch of talent, they just drafted Chuba Hubbard as well. They have a dynamic offense. They have Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator, Matt Rule. The defense is coming along. Now they got J.C. Horn. I'm telling y'all, all the Jets had to do was trust this kid. But they end up trusting the guy. He's never been in New York. He looks like he's never been outside of where he lives. Like, yo, they're putting their franchise in this kid's hands. It got to be the Jets. It has to be the Jets to pick this guy. You got Trey Lance out there. You got Justin Fields out there. You got all of these talented guys. You got all of these guys that look the part, look like quarterbacks. No. You take the guy that looks like he's the captain of the chess team. Yes. You don't take Spider-Man. You take Peter Parker. I can't wait. I can't wait till this backfires on the Jets because, listen, that's what they deserve. The Bengals are getting their stuff together, so I can't even call the Bengals a dumpster fire anymore. But, man, oh, man, I really hope that the Jets have figured this out because if not, you can forget about the Jets being any good for the next 7 to 10 years if they screw this up. And kudos to the Giants as well. Getting Kadarius Toney at 20 and getting a first-round pick next year, big move for the Giants. So definitely don't want to leave them out. The fact that they picked Kadarius Toney a little later, 20. But listen, they did well. They did what they had to do. So both New York teams did well overall. You know, like I said, I'm still down on Zach Wilson. So, you know, we'll see how all of this unfolds. Coming up after the break, Phone a Friend with my fellow podcaster, Bryson Carver. On a Saturday. It's all even.
Yo, it's your man DJ G Money from that Flip the Script podcast. You see it? We in the studio right now. Flip, shut up. Yeah. Oh, listen. Shout out to the All Even podcast. My man Barry Grant Jr. What's up, man? What happened? What you want to say to the people?
Shout out somebody else's podcast?
Yeah, my nigga the joint. What's up?
All Even?
All Even podcast.
Yo, it ain't even up here, boy. We put this what's up, man? All Even. Yo, oh my God. What's up with you, man? Now that's a shout out. You keeping this?
Yeah, keep all that. You want to jump in the
All
camera?
Even podcast, right?
Yeah, All
Shout out
Even.
to All Even podcast, right? All Even? That's your man?
My man.
All right, shout out to All Even podcast.
100%. He cool. Is he cool? Let me see. Is he cool?
Yeah. What is it, G? Oh. Shout out, G.
Cool, man.
Welcome back, y'all. So now to my favorite segment, Phone a Friend.
Call him up, 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 call him up. Competing for a reason, trying to stay undefeated, yeah. Call him up, 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 call him up. Biggest game of the season, don't lie with all leaving, yeah.
Who we have on the show today is a good friend of mine. You know, I kind of look up to him because he's so good. So good. Host of Carving It Up. My man, Bryson Carver. Welcome to the show, my man.
Appreciate you having me on, Barry. How you doing?
Of course. I finally had to get you on Phone a Friend, man. So, I guess let's start at the beginning. Like, you know, you're a young guy. You know, you haven't finished high school yet, but you are wise beyond your years, my man. And, you know, how did this all start? Obviously, you have to have an affinity for sports. You have to have a love for sports to want to do this at such a young age. So how did it start? Was it something with your dad? Was something with your mom? Was it, you know, a family thing? Is this the sports run in your family?
It does. My dad used to play baseball. Obviously, he's a baseball guy. It's really the number one reason that I got into that.
Nice.
But as far as sports, I think as far as professional sports, the NFL was kind of my first love.
Okay.
I know it was the 2014-15 season, and it was the very first NFL game I watched start to finish was that championship game between Seattle and Green Bay. That was the game where Seattle had that epic comeback, won the game in overtime, and it's kind of amazing I didn't become a Seahawks fan because of that.
Right.
But and then 2 weeks later you got the Super Bowl, which was one of the best games I've ever seen when you had the interception at the one. And after that, I was kind of like, man, this is where it's at. And so, of course, I become an NFL fan later on because of the greatness of the shooting of Steph Curry. I become an NBA fan and a Warriors fan.
Right.
Obviously, as I've always been a big Poppy fan, so I became a Red Sox fan. So
nice.
After that, it just kind of following sports for the last few years. And I know we were driving around one day, and my dad suggested, hey, why don't you start a podcast? And I swear I'd never really thought of it before.
Right.
And so I've been thinking about it. Okay, how do I get the equipment? How do I get this set up? Watching YouTube videos and whatnot. And I know we were eating one night, and I have to give credit where credit's due. We were discussing like what would the name of the show be called? Like I don't want to do the BRYSON CARVER show. That's too generic. But I was sitting there thinking, and my sister said, "How about you do carving it up?" I was like, you know what? That's it.
Nice.
And so I start the show.
Your sister. Yeah, shout out to your sister for that one.
No doubt. Start the show on October 21st of 2019, and been going ever since. And it's been awesome, man.
Wow. That's amazing, man. So you actually got started before me because I started July of 2020. So, you definitely have a polished sound already. And, in this business, it's always about learning and growing. Like you never just kind of settle into your laurels. You never get complacent. It's always about getting better and gaining more knowledge. So as you go on, you're just going to see, I'm sure you've seen from where you started to now, how much you've changed in that time. You know what I'm saying?
No question. There's clear difference from then and now, and just, practice makes perfect. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, definitely. So did you play sports as a kid? Like, was that something that was, big into, like, and what sport was it, your favorite sport in regards to playing other than watching?
Growing up, I played just about every sport except for football. Obviously for, don't want to get hurt. You don't want to get, badly injured. Yeah. But, played Little League baseball. My dad was the coach, had, time of my life. Up until a few years ago, I was playing basketball. Wasn't, great. So I guess I was better at talking about sports rather than playing sports.
That's
we all got to stay in our lane at some point. But played soccer a little bit, but nothing I ever really perfected.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's obviously I'd love to go out and play pickup basketball or sling the pigskin around a little bit, but nothing I've really I guess gotten really good at, if you will.
Yeah, definitely. I hear that. And that's the thing too. Like a lot of people think that just because you haven't played a sport professionally, you can't speak about it. Like that's always the thing. Well, you hear these guys, oh, well, you haven't played. Like, what does it matter? I've watched this my entire life. I know the game. Just because I haven't played it, you have a different perspective. That's great. But my perspective means something as well. So, it's really interesting. I love that. I wish that when I was 17, 18, that I had that type of vision, but all I wanted to do was play basketball. All I cared about was playing basketball and not going to class. So, the fact that you have an idea of where you're going now, is this something that you want to pursue? The fact that you started it and you're so good at it, is this something that you want to pursue, or is there something else that you're actually, going for? Is there something else that that you're aspiring to do?
To be honest with you, Barry, I obviously love doing this show. I'd like to continue it for years to come.
Yeah.
As far as a career, I'm not 100% sure on that yet. I'm still, kind of, researching careers, researching professions, what I'd like to do when I become an adult. And so I'm not 100% sure whether I'd like to do this long term or not, as far as, monetizing what I'm doing.
Right.
I certainly love doing the show, and I'd like to continue it for years to come.
Definitely. Well, listen, man, you know, you have some time to figure it out. But if you do decide to go down that route, you know, I'm nudging you there. So parents, the Carver parents, my people, I love you. I love your parents. Nudge him
the best.
in this direction, because you know you guys done a great job raising this young man. You know, like I said, I'm very, very appreciative. You know, I'm glad that we became friends. You know, so definitely looking forward to seeing, you know, what you do in the future. So, you know, now all of those nice things are out of the way. Let's talk about Aaron Rodgers. Let's talk about Aaron Rodgers and this interesting situation in Green Bay. Because, Bryson, if everybody thinks that this is a now thing for Aaron Rodgers, they're mistaken. He has been unhappy with the Green Bay Packers for at least probably close to a decade. And everybody just thinks that, okay, you know, it's the old school mentality where he's the quarterback, you know, he's the lifer, he's going to be here through good, bad, and different, whatever it is, Aaron Rodgers will be here. It's fine. But I've never seen an organization be this cheap and outright cheap with not surrounding this guy with talent. It amazes me how he can be able to look around and say, okay, well, Tom Brady was in New England for all those years and dominated. Now he's in Tampa, won a Super Bowl. I see all these other guys with weapons. Patrick Mahomes, he's a baby. He just got in this league. He's an MVP and a champion. And look at the weapons that he has. You see, even a guy like Stafford, Matthew Stafford. Look at the weapons that he has.
Yep.
With the Rams. And it's like, okay, I have Devontae Adams. I love the guy. But what else do we have here? We saw how badly they struggled in that game against the Bucks when Aaron Jones went down.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have anybody else. I feel if Aaron Jones would have been healthy, I think we would have had a different game. But now we know what the end result was, who's the champion, and who's left holding the bag. It's Aaron Rodgers. So what are your thoughts about that? Do you think that Green Bay actually realizes what they're doing? And do you think that they can be able to repair this relationship? Because honestly, I just think it's beyond repair, in my opinion.
I think you're right about the fact that this has been going for about a decade or so.
Yeah.
I feel like we're going back to the 2018 season. You know, Aaron hurts his knee really bad. Obviously, he had a down year that year. I think that knee injury was bothering him all the way through.
The whole year, right.
Yeah. And that ended up, of course, being Mike McCarthy's last year. I think, you know, I've heard multiple former Packers players that were teammates with Aaron Rodgers and obviously played under Coach Mike McCarthy. They said, man, these two couldn't stand each other.
Right.
Aaron couldn't stand the fact that, you know, Mike McCarthy would, get massages during walkthroughs, and McCarthy couldn't stand the fact that, you know, Aaron would improvise, even though he's one of the best, maybe the best improviser at the position of all time. But I think once they hired Matt LaFleur, Aaron kind of sat back and was like, okay, maybe we're turning over a new leaf. Maybe this is the start of something different.
Right.
And so they go 13-3 in that 2019 season. Okay, they lose in the NFC Championship game, but you can say, okay, we made strides from a year ago. And now it's like, okay, we've got a solid defense, great offensive line. Aaron Jones had a breakout season. Devontae Adams. We just need to add a little bit of depth at the wide receiver position.
Right. And
they draft a quarterback in the first round. And to me, that was the boiling point. That was the beginning of the end of Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay.
Yeah.
He's like, guys, we got just about everything else. Just give me some talent at the wide receiver position to pair up with Devontae Adams. Because as I brought up on many occasions, we saw in this past NFC Championship game, when Tampa Bay took Devontae away, it was over.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when you look at since 2005, when Aaron was drafted, they've drafted one skill position player on the offensive side of the football, and that is Jordan Love. And so you also bring up the fact that they've been cheap. You know, you have the hometown kid, J.J. Watt, who's available in free agency, and he wanted to go to Green Bay. He went just, $15, $16 million for, a year or so. And they're like, no, we're not. The only reason Aaron Jones came back is because he took a discount.
Right.
They let their center go in free agency.
Unbelievable.
And so, and sometimes you hear them complain about Aaron's salary, and Aaron's making less than Mahomes, Dak, Russ, Deshaun, probably about to be either Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson soon.
Right.
So this has been the backbone of your franchise for almost 15 years now, and you still have not put together the necessary talent around him offensively. And so the one thing I keep going back to is the one time the Packers organization was aggressive, whether it be free agency or in trades. They went and got Charles Woodson in 2009. Okay, Charles Woodson won Defensive Player of the Year. A year later, what do you know? They won the Super Bowl.
Right.
And they also had a top 10 defense that year, in part because of the future Hall of Famer. And so he's like, the one time you actually went for it, look where it got us.
Right.
And he's won 3 MVPs since then, and time again they fall short either in the divisional round or in the NFC Championship game to a team that doesn't have a better quarterback, but a team that's run better.
Right.
And so I don't blame Aaron for his frustrations, and I think it's about time.
Yeah, definitely. Now, you brought it up on your show yesterday that he may just end up pulling a power move just like how Carson Palmer did.
That's it.
In regards to retiring and, maybe taking a year off and then coming back somewhere else where he actually wants to go. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't blame him for that. There's sometimes you can be able to criticize people and say, oh, well, listen, you got to figure it out. I've always been on that Deshaun Watson thing. Listen, he has to figure it out there in Houston, blah, blah, blah. We all know what's going on over there. But in this situation, it's like, I don't fault Aaron for any part of it, because think about it, right? He's not happy that they drafted Jordan Love. He's also not happy about his contract. So he would say, listen, I would stay here and be miserable. Just pay me. Pay me what I want. And I'll stay here. I'll be the model citizen. I'll fly the Green Bay Packers banner. I'll be the ambassador for this franchise. I don't really care, but I'll do it just as long as you're paying me for it. And the fact that you're not doing that, you came to me and you wanted to restructure my deal. No, I'm not restructuring anything. And why would I restructure this deal to help you do what? Go get a defensive lineman? Go get another cornerback? Go get somebody that can't help me on the offensive side of the football? What am I restructuring for? That's how he's looking at it. If you're going to restructure and give me some offense, I'll give you $20 million back. But the fact that you're not going to do that, I know you're not going to do that. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not restructuring my deal. Like, look at the draft that's going on right now. We're in day 3 of the draft. Then the 4th round is the 4th round continuing, or they finished?
I think we're on the backside of the 4th round.
Okay,
right now.
Backside of the 4th round right now. They just drafted a wide receiver. Now the guy's good out of Clemson. Was it Amari Rodgers? He's good. Really but he's more of like a gadget guy, like a more running back / wide receiver type. So if they can definitely use him, but is Aaron Rodgers going to be there? That's the thing. It's like, I don't know if they can be able to repair this relationship. Now, we've seen that, according to reports, he has the Raiders. What's the other teams that he had on his list?
I think it was the Niners and the Broncos, but obviously the Niners are out of the picture now.
Niners are out of the picture now because they're fully invested with going with Trey Lance.
Right.
The Broncos, though, the fact that they didn't get a quarterback, I think the Broncos are definitely in play here because they have a history of doing this, don't they, Bryson? Like Peyton, they took a chance on Peyton Manning when nobody would touch him with a 10-foot pole because of that neck. And look what ended up happening. He set records and they won a Super Bowl. So what can you be able to do with, like you say, like how I say, the best throw of the football that's ever played this game? They would be able to do wonders in that offense. They have some great young pieces on that offense. They really do. Yep. Noah Fant, what's my man? Sutton. They have so many. Judy. Melvin Gordon is over there. So they have some guys that they really can be able to use and allow Aaron Rodgers to finally have some decent weapons around him. So that's not a bad situation. If I'm Denver, obviously, you're going to have to give up a king's ransom. But is Green Bay willing to even listen? I don't think so. That's what I'm hearing, is that they're not even answering any calls for Aaron. But if he threatens retirement, at that point as an organization, you have to pick up the phone, don't you?
Well, of course. I don't think there's a question, but I think with, we saw 2 other quarterbacks, Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, Deshaun Russ requested a trade. Russ was borderline that, but Deshaun lost all the leverage when what happened went down a month or so ago. Russell Wilson, my thing is, I don't think Russell was ever that serious about possibly leaving Seattle. I think he was just pushing the organization to make some moves.
Yeah.
But even if you, let's just say for the sake of argument, all three requested a trade, Aaron by far is the most leverage.
Absolutely.
By far.
Absolutely.
Because you're talking about an organization that their last two quarterbacks, how many teams can say this? Their last two starting quarterbacks have been Hall of Famers.
Right.
Like first ballot Hall of Famers.
Right.
And they've got 2 rings in 30 years.
Right.
2.
Oh, it's terrible.
Terrible. And we've seen, whether it was 2013, 2017, when Aaron was out with injury, it was a train wreck.
Complete train wreck.
It was, I just don't understand why. All he's asking for is just a little bit of help. That's all. I mean, this is an organization that's not going to attract free agents. This is a small town, freezing cold in the winter, Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Right.
And you have this guy, a guy who I consider a top 10 quarterback ever.
Right.
And you can't put the adequate talent around him, whether it's trading for somebody, whether it's, go after Kenny Galladay in free agency.
Right.
Go after, maybe trade for a slot receiver. Or maybe take a receiver earlier than the 4th or the 3rd round.
Right.
That Elijah Moore kid from Ole Miss, I thought they were going to take him.
Right. And he went to the Jets. Yeah.
They took a corner.
Yeah.
And so it's been the same story for years and years. And finally it's reaches its breaking point. And again, I think he holds all the leverage, and I would not be shocked if he took a year off and enjoyed the Jeopardy hosting gig. He's going to get married soon. And then he takes a look at the whole NFL and sees, okay, just like Tom Brady did, who can I win with right now? And who's going to be aggressive and put me in a position to win more rings?
Yeah, you're 100% right, man. But the part that I always like to laugh about when I heard this report come out is that if you're Green Bay, right? If you're the front office, the president, the owner, and GM, how can you be shocked?
No, you can't be shocked.
Right? Like you see this report said, well, Aaron wants, they have to know how angry he is. Like, them of all people should know that, okay, we haven't spoken to Aaron in maybe 6 weeks or so. He's not talking to us. Like, you're kind of getting the hint. It's kind of like if you're in a relationship and, all of a sudden you're calling your girlfriend or you're calling your boyfriend or whatever it is, and you're not having those conversations anymore. The answers are short. They're always telling you they'll call you back, and then they don't call you back. Like, you're supposed to start getting the hint that something's up, right?
That's simple.
Like, Aaron Rodgers is going to go, he's hosting Jeopardy of all things because he doesn't want to be in Green Bay. It was always a weird fit anyway. He's a Cali kid. You always wanted to play for the 49ers. They had a chance to get him. They ended up getting Alex Smith instead. He drops, down the board to Green Bay. Great. It was never an ideal fit. They took a chance on him. I'm sure he's very appreciative, but at the end of the day, what Brett Favre has had in his career in regards to certain weapons is not what Aaron Rodgers has had. When you think about it, like,
yes,
Brett Favre had more than what Aaron Rodgers had to deal with. And for some reason, I don't understand that. I don't understand how you can have arguably the most talented quarterback we've ever seen in this game to not have the weapons afforded to him. It's one of the sad stories in sports. It really is. And it bothers me, Bryson, because he gets criticized so loudly for it. It's like, oh, Aaron Rodgers chokes again. Oh, they can't get, but look at what he has around him. That's like when LeBron was in Cleveland and he had Eric Snow and he had what's the other guy's name? Anderson Varejao. He had Antoine Jameson,
Mo Williams,
Bobby Gibson. He took those teams to the finals. Like, what are we talking about here? This is basically what Aaron Rodgers had to deal with. And also, too, as good as Matt LaFleur is, Matt LaFleur has a big ego. And I think that's part of the reason why Aaron Rodgers really doesn't want to be here at all. I think initially when Matt LaFleur got hired, like you said, He's looking at it like, okay, this might be a new leaf. Maybe they're turning over a new leaf. Maybe we're going to be a little bit more offensive now because we have this guy. But what we've seen is that Matt LaFleur came there believing that Aaron Rodgers was done.
Yeah.
And that's why they drafted Jordan Love. When you draft a guy in the first round, Bryson, and he doesn't even dress,
he wasn't even the backup.
He wasn't even the back. He didn't dress. He wasn't on the sidelines. That's how bad it was. Like, how can you not be upset with that? Now, Aaron Rodgers wins the MVP. That is despite his organization, because his organization believed that he was on a decline. Just like how Brett Favre was starting to be on a decline when they were starting to say, oh, well, maybe it's time to get Brett out of here. Maybe we don't want to wait around for him saying, oh, he's going to retire. He's not going to retire. He's going to stay. He's going to leave. Like, maybe we kind of needle him and push him out the door. But we saw that Brett Favre still had a lot of juice left. He went to the Jets, played well. You know, he tore his tricep, and you know that was the rest of the season. And then he goes to Minnesota, and they're a game away from the Super Bowl. So, you know, it's amazing how an organization like this can continue to make blunders, continue to just fall over themselves and not realize the mistakes that they're making. Like, you're not going to get another Aaron Rodgers. They're not. They were very grateful to have a guy like Bart Starr, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers. You're not getting any kind of quarterback like that possibly ever again in your franchise.
Think about, too, the teams. Just look in the division, the Chicago Bears. How long has it taken them to find a franchise quarterback? Maybe they found it now in Justin Fields. I like Justin Fields a lot.
Me too.
But Jay Cutler, that didn't work. Mitch Trubisky, that was a bust. He's a backup now in Buffalo. Who's that?
Nick Foles.
Yeah, I don't know if they ever thought of him as a franchise quarterback, but that's
Rex Grossman.
Since the 60s. I mean, even the 85 team that won the Super Bowl, in my view, the greatest defense of all time.
Right.
Jim McMahon was not a franchise quarterback.
Oh, you talking about Zach Wilson, or you said Jim McMahon? Which one?
Same guy. Same headband. Same dude. But that's the thing. Even the Detroit Lions, I think Matthew Stafford is as talented as they come.
Yes.
Aaron Rodgers said himself, he's people don't realize how good he is because he's in Detroit.
Exactly.
And when did Barry Sanders ever have a great quarterback handing him the ball off? So it's taken the Lions years and years and years.
Right.
Whereas the Packers, and this is not how it works. You don't go from Joe Montana to Steve Young. That's not how it works.
It doesn't work.
You darn sure don't go from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
And combined, they got 6 MVPs. And in the last 30 years with those two guys, they've got 2 Super Bowls and they've been to 3.
It's amazing.
That's embarrassing.
It really is. But that goes to the Green Bay Packers organization as a whole, right? They have the lineage is so strong there that they believe that we'll be able to get guys and turn them into Hall of Famers, or we'll get the next Bart Starr, we'll get the next Brett Favre, we'll get the next Vince Lombardi. Like, we don't have to worry about it because it's Green Bay. No, on the contrary, you have to do things the right way to strike gold. Like, if your scouting department sucks, and their scouting department sucks, Bryson, it really sucks.
They haven't drafted well.
They're not going to find those guys because they don't have the talent in the front office to do so. On occasion, you can be bad at your job, but you'll be able to do something right occasionally. Like, you'll buck up on a good pick. But for the most part, you're going to be bad. And this is exactly what Green Bay has had. Because Aaron Rodgers is so great, he's been able to mask a lot of their deficiencies over the years. But this franchise has a lot of deficiencies, whether it's at head coach, whether it's at their skill positions, whether it's at defense, whether it's at their offensive line. There's always been something where you're just like, why can't they just get it together? Like, there's something missing here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And they don't take risk. I mean, just look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Aaron Rodgers was just, fuming on the sideline, just seeing Tom Brady go from an organization that towards the end just wouldn't give him enough help.
Right.
He goes to Tampa Bay, and they go get Antonio Brown. They go get, I think the Gronk thing was more of Tom Brady's doing.
Yes,
but
yes.
They go get Leonard Fournette, and they're putting this team together. They've drafted well over the years, and they're being aggressive. And this offseason, we're thinking, okay, 2 or 3 of the defensive starters are going to leave.
They all
They keep everybody, Barry. They keep everybody.
Yeah.
They give everybody their money. And the Packers, who have all kinds of cap space, won't go get J.J. Watt.
I just don't understand
the Bucks, and I know they just drafted Kyle Trask last night. Kyle Trask is not the future in Tampa Bay.
No, he's not.
When Tom Brady retires in 2 to 3 years, the Bucks are going to go right back to being irrelevant.
Right.
But what they're saying is, you know what? I'd rather be great for a few years than just good.
Right.
What's the old cliche? Like, good is the enemy of great.
Right.
Because you get satisfied after a while.
Yeah.
Which, you know, the Packers must have forgotten that in between Bart Starr and Brett Favre through the 70s and 80s, they were hot garbage on the 4th of July. They were awful.
Yes.
So it's Tampa Bay kind of epitomizes like, man, let's go after it now. We've got the greatest quarterback ever. Let's go for it.
Yeah.
And Green Bay just doesn't have that mentality.
Right. They're just very laissez-faire. You know, we got Aaron. It's fine. We'll be okay with winning the division or being contenders, being a wild card team, and getting to the playoffs so we can continue to sell tickets. Like they're not looking at it from our quarterback is turning 38 years old. Time is not on his side. We need to make sure that we kind of execute and get as good as we possibly can in this short window that he has. You know, can Aaron Rodgers play another 6 years? Of course. But is that going to happen? Possibly not. I don't see Aaron Rodgers being a guy that wants to play into his mid-40s. I just don't think he's that type of guy. I think that once he hits 40, I think once he sees that his skills are starting to diminish, he will walk away. He's not going to be one of those guys to kind of continue to play while his skills are eroding. He's not going to do it. So they have to know that time is ticking, and you have to make sure that you surround him with as much talent right now because, you know, had you said, like you said, had they got a J.J. Watt, had they, kept guys on their offensive line and added some pieces on offense in regards to whether it be for free agency or in this draft, like if they would have went heavy with offense, who knows what we would have seen with Green Bay next year. That you now put, like, just think about it. Devontae Adams to me is probably 1 or 2 in regards to being one of the best wide receivers in football. You put more weapons around a guy like that, his numbers now get worse. He now gets more scary because you have to worry about other guys. This guy has been doubled and tripled and still has been this productive in his career. You give him more help, it's scary, Bryson. It really is. And for the organization, for me and you to be able to sit here in our houses, watch football, and understand this, and people that are getting paid in that organization don't, it baffles me. And it really makes me realize that it's not about how smart you are. It's about who you know sometimes when you get jobs, because that Green Bay organization, that staff, they at some point, it's going to be, they're going to have to overhaul that and get some real smart football guys in there, because what they have right now, it's not working. It really is not. It's not working. Like, look at the Jets. Even the Jets right now look like they have things going in the right direction.
They've drafted well so far.
I think the Jets had the best draft so far, and that's, let's go ahead and just segue into that. Night one was, in my opinion, surprising in some ways. Obviously, there was a lot of things that kind of fell into place, but J.C. Horn going 8, and then the Broncos taking Surtain at 9. Bryson, I still, to this day, it's been a couple days now, I don't understand it. I just don't understand why Denver would do that. They have already a good secondary.
Yes.
Their secondary was fine. The defense was not the problem for Denver last year.
Drew Lock was the problem.
Drew Lock was the problem last year. So what are your thoughts on the top 10? What are your thoughts on the first round? And do you agree with my sentiment in regards to those two things just didn't fit to me?
Well, what you notice with Carolina since Matt Rule took over, the last year, well, Cam Newton didn't play much in 2019. He only played 2 games, but we saw the Panthers defense was clearly the issue.
Yeah.
So the Panthers 2020 draft, all their picks are defense. We see it right now. The Cowboys are doing that right now.
Right.
And so they draft J.C. Horn, who in some people's eyes is better than Pat Surtain. He reminds me a little bit of Richard Sherman. His ball skills, he's big, he's physical.
Yes.
So I think he'll work. The Pat Surtain pick didn't make much sense to me because, look, if Denver thinks they're going to compete with Mahomes in Kansas City, Herbert in L.A., and Derek Carr in Vegas with Teddy Bridgewater, no disrespect to Teddy Bridgewater,
Right.
but that ain't winning the division. It sure is not putting you in the championship picture as well.
No, it's not.
So I was surprised that they didn't take Justin Fields 9th overall. Listen, I think Pat Surtain's the best corner in the draft. I think he's arguably the best defensive player in the draft. But what you did was strengthen a strength. And I can promise you that as good as he may be, he may make 10 Pro Bowls. I don't know. He will never make the kind of impact that a franchise quarterback would. He just won't.
Right.
And so the top 10, something else, and I talked about this with Mike Guido on my show yesterday, what didn't make sense to me in the slightest. Look, I think Jamar Chase is going to be really, really good. Why did the Cincinnati Bengals not take Penei Sewell?
Well, remember when we were talking on Ryan's show, Clutch Sports Talk, shouts to Ryan.
Yep.
We said it like, that pick is going to tell us a lot about Cincinnati, how they feel about their quarterback. You look at that scar on his knee and you say, okay, we need to protect you at all costs. And I loved it. Like you said, me and you were in agreement with this, is that Jamar Chase is a freak. He's a great player, player. But if your quarterback doesn't have time to get to a Jamar Chase, what does it matter? It's not going to matter. He needs time to throw that football. Not saying that the Bengals offensive line is trash. It's not trash. But you're getting a guy like Penei Sewell that could be a bookend tackle for the next 15 years. That's what you're looking for. That's exactly what you're looking for. So I'm with you, man. I didn't really understand it. It puzzled me as well. Definitely puzzled me as well.
I don't want to see Joe Burrow become the next David Carr or the next Andrew Luck, where they're drafting skill position players. The Texans with Andre Johnson, great player. Right. With the Colts, they had T.Y. Hilton and they added Reggie Wayne towards the end, and they had some good tight ends. But it didn't matter because Andrew Luck was playing with a lacerated kidney in some games. Right. David Carr was sacked more times than any quarterback in the history of the league his rookie year. Right. And that's, what ended up derailing what could have been a promising career for him. Correct. I don't want to see that be the case with Joe Burrow in that, like you said, it's if you had to ask me who in my view, the best offensive lineman in the league today is Quentin Nelson. Quentin Nelson's a freak. Yes. Best receiver in my view, you could go DeAndre Hopkins, you could go with Devontae Adams. Give me Quentin Nelson over those two guys, as great as they are. Absolutely. As great as they are. Because if your quarterback cannot stand upright, it's not going to matter, and he's going to have a shorter career, and you're going to screw your franchise over for a decade. And go ahead. That was a year ago. I took a little bit of heat from this. I didn't think Joe Burrow was going to succeed in Cincinnati, and this was a big reason why. Because Cincinnati. Cincinnati, yeah. I mean, they blew Carson Palmer's career and Boomer Esiason's career. Yeah. Now they're going to blow Joe Burrow's career if they don't fix this O-line quickly. Right. So that's my view on it. Something else though, before you get into your next point. Yeah. I got to be honest. As much as I loved Trey Lance over Mac Jones, and that as well as anybody. Yes. That I was genuinely shocked. That the 49ers took him. I agree. Because we saw Kyle Shanahan say in the press conference afterwards, he said, we trade up to the 3rd overall pick, and for some reason this, and I don't know if San Francisco leaked it out. I don't know what happened, but in his, basically what he said is the story leaked out. And we just kind of played along with it. It was a smokescreen. We liked Trey Lance all along. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But clearly this was their guy, and they, according to Schefter, they kind of blindsided the scouting department in that regard. Yeah, that was funny, man. That was funny when he said it. But obviously, I think you kind of have to say that if you're Kyle Shanahan, you got to pick up your quarterback. Like, this is the guy that we wanted all the time. You're not going to say, well, we thought about Mac Jones, and then we settled for Trey Lance. Like, you're going to say, like, this was our pick from day one. So, it's a little tongue-in-cheek about what he's doing. But going back to the Bengals a little bit, and then we'll move on, is that what really shocked me about Cincinnati is that they have arguably one of the greatest offensive linemen to ever play this game in their Hall of Fame and in the overall Hall of Fame, Anthony Munoz. Yes. You wouldn't draft the Penei Sewell. It just, like, to me, didn't Anthony Munoz make the pick? I don't think so. I think he made the pick in like the second round.
Second round, right. But it's like, okay, you have the lineage. Get this guy. Get Penei Sewell. Like, the guy is so athletic. He would be able to keep your quarterback clean. That's what you're looking for. You can always get flash. You know what we've noticed over the last couple years too, Bryson, and then we'll move on to the other picks in the draft, is that there's this connection thing that everybody wants now. They played at the same school, so we got to keep them together. We got to keep them together. LSU connection. You have the Clemson connection. But that's the thing with Jacksonville. Like, I didn't understand why they took Travis Etienne, all because of the connection with Trevor Lawrence.
They already had Robinson.
You already have Robinson, so it's like, whatever. Let's move on before I get upset. Kyle Pitts. I knew that once they took Trey Lance, once San Francisco took Trey Lance, I knew that Kyle Pitts was going to Atlanta. I knew that was going to happen because everybody is in love with Trey Lance. I think, like we said, Trey Lance is the number 2 guy in this draft to me in regards to quarterback. I think
totally agree with you.
I think he's the most talented quarterback in the draft completely. Like, Trevor Lawrence is ready-made. He's going to have a great career, but he doesn't have the ceiling that a Trey Lance has. Like, there's no cap to that guy's ability. He can be able to do what he wants, when he realizes how good he is. He doesn't realize it yet. He only played at Dakota State for 1 year. So, yep. There's a lot more to unlock with that kid. But I was watching the draft with my boys, and I want to know how you felt about this. The Cowboys traded back to 12. I said, okay, I think they have their eye on somebody. I don't know exactly who it is, but I personally, in the back of my mind, I didn't want Micah Parsons. I didn't want him.
Really?
Didn't want Micah Parsons. They took Micah Parsons, and I was upset. And the reason why I was upset is because I know Micah Parsons is a super athlete. He's a superior athlete. He's just one of those unique guys that you can be able to just throw out there and let things happen. I'm looking at it more from a technical standpoint, is that where is he going to play? Is he going to get enough snaps to be effective in year one? Because we need effectiveness in year one. How did you feel when they drafted Micah Parsons? Were you excited? Were you reluctant? Were you kind of like, blah, move on to the next one? Or, what were your thoughts about that Micah Parsons pick?
The short answer was I was pretty excited, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Going into the draft over the last, couple of weeks, it was kind of 3 guys I think were being talked about going to the Cowboys. It was Kyle Pitts. All the fans wanted Kyle Pitts. There was no way he was going to fall down to 10.
No.
But then the 2 defensive players, which I argued they needed much more than Kyle Pitts, is Surtain. I would have been okay with J.C. Horn, but Patrick Surtain and Micah Parsons. Now, I was crossing my fingers for Surtain, so it broke my heart when Denver took him. But the way I viewed it is, okay, they could have taken Rashawn Slater out of Northwestern. Obviously, their offensive line has had some issues staying healthy over the past few years or so. But the way I look at it is this. A kid from Clemson last year by the name of Isaiah Simmons, Cardinals took him.
Free.
He's a guy that he's a defensive player. He's not a linebacker. He's not a safety. He is a defensive specialist.
Right.
Okay, you can Jamal Adams is kind of like this.
Yeah.
Micah Parsons at 260 pounds ran a 4.39. He ran a 4.39.
Yeah, that's
and
crazy.
So you can put him at pass rusher. You can put him at linebacker. With this new scheme with Dan Quinn, he's going to play. He's going to play. It's just they're going to line him up all over the place. He's going to be a nightmare to game plan for. So I think getting an extra 3rd-round pick from the Eagles was huge. Get you an extra defensive player. I think they took the corner from Oklahoma State. I like what Dallas is doing, just taking multiple corners, just hoping that one of them pans out.
Right.
And so getting an extra draft pick, moving back, obviously they didn't need Devontae Smith at all. And then obviously the 11th pick, Micah Parsons wasn't off the board there. So I think they got their guy. And so short answer, I love the pick. Long answer, I think it was a smart calculated move by Jerry Jones. trade back, get an extra pick, and get you a star defensive player for the future.
Yeah, definitely, man. I was emotional about it at first, but once I kind of thought about it and let everything sink in, I think Micah Parsons was the right move to make. I think, it's time for the Cowboys to not think splash all the time and just go get yourself the guy that is going to help your team the most right now. And where we need the most help is defense.
Yep.
So we can be able to have multiple playmakers on defense, which we've never really had in regards to guys that can take the football away recently. Not saying historically, but recently we have not gotten guys that can be able to create turnovers. And that's a problem. When you have a defense that does not create turnovers, you put yourself in a hole offensively. Like, you put more pressure on your offense. And that's what's been happening over the last few years with Dallas. So, like you said, they're just throwing all of these, picking all these defensive guys, hoping that a couple are going to stick. And I believe that kid out of Oklahoma State, big dude, man, 6'3", corner, like that to me, that may be the guy that can be able to really impact on what we're doing defensively. Because when you got a guy that big and that physical, you can be able to create a lot more pressure up front. And, it's going to be interesting to see how Dan Quinn incorporates all of these guys. And, I'm really excited, man. I think so far the Cowboys have done really, really well. But I guess I will ask you, who do you think has had the best draft so far? Obviously, the draft is not over. All of these rounds, 5, 6, 7, that's where you kind of build the foundation of your team. But what do you think, like, who's had the most impressive draft in your opinion?
I think there's a lot of teams you could put in there. I think Miami's done a good job adding some defensive players, taking Jalen Waddle. There is the Alabama connection with Tua. Right. I think, I probably would go with the Miami Dolphins for that very reason because, look, Tua didn't play well last year. He wasn't trash, but he didn't validate being I think he was the 4th overall pick in the draft last season.
So funny that he had a normal rookie year that you would expect for a rookie, but the fact that rookies have up the ante over the last few years, people look at him like he's a bust, and it's not. It's just he may need some more time.
Yeah, I think if you give him a full, because people forget last offseason, he was more focused on rehabbing his hip than improving his game. He had to get that healthy before he can do anything on the field. So absolutely, I think you give him a full offseason, learn the system that much more. I think we'll have a more normal training camp, a more normal, I don't know if we'll have OTAs or not, but you give him a preseason. I'm assuming the preseason is going to be back. And listen, it's the old Bill Parcells saying, if I take a quarterback, I'm giving him 3 years. The first year, he's going to have his bumps, along the road. Year 2, we need to start seeing something. And if he's not that guy by year 3, then we're going to cut ties with him. I think what Miami is doing is saying, okay, Tua, we're giving you a guy you're comfortable with. You've already got the really good tight end, Gesicki. Our offensive line has gotten better. We already have a great defense. Yeah. And look, we using Fitzpatrick and Tua back and forth, we went 10-6 and we're a win away from the playoffs. Exactly. So they're right there. So if Tua can take that big step that we've seen quarterbacks take in year 2, Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, even a guy who I'm not that big on, Carson Wentz, right? Then you might have something.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. I agree with you. I think Miami is in I call them the catbird seat. They're in the catbird seat because they're playing with house money. They weren't supposed to be this good this early, and now it kind of puts them in a situation like, okay, we really have some good players here that we didn't realize we're going to develop this quickly. So now we have all of this draft capital over the next few years. They're going to be really, really good, and they're going to have their pick of the litter in regards to where they go, what players they get. They may even start to be a destination because I think Brian Flores is a hell of a coach.
He's a great coach.
I love Brian Flores. I love his attitude. I love his demeanor. I love how he gets his team prepared. I always believe that a head coach is responsible to get his guys ready for Sunday.
Yep.
And he does that. He does that better than, most guys I've seen. So, shouts out to the Miami Dolphins. I like what they're doing. But I'm going to say it again, man. We were talking off air. I love what the Jets have done. Besides Zach Wilson, I think they've had a stellar draft. They have done so good. Trading up for Vera Tucker, that was huge. That was huge because he's one of the good guards in this game. Them getting Elijah Moore. I thought that Rondell Moore, excuse me, I'm saying Rudy Ray Moore because my boy always says Rudy Ray Moore. But Rondell Moore, I thought he would be the pick for the Jets there. But, Elijah Moore is really good. He is really, really good. And, that wide receiver core now is starting to come together. You have Moore. You have, they got Corey Davis over there now. They have, what's the guy's name?
Do they still have Pierre Garçon?
I don't think they have Pierre Garçon.
Or did he move?
I think he moved. What's the guy that they had last year? They're good receiver. What is his name?
I'm drawing a blank.
I'm drawing a blank. But they got Pettis. They have some good weapons over there. So I like what the Jets have done. I think that they're going to continue to draft well. Bryson, I just don't. I'm not a Zach Wilson guy. I'm just not a Zach Wilson guy. Like all of these quarterbacks that we've seen go, they all have their strengths, their weaknesses. You can pick apart their games and say this needs work, this needs work. You can say the same thing about Zach Wilson, but there's something about this kid that doesn't scream confident to me. Like when you see Trevor Lawrence, confident, big guy, strapping guy, that he knows he's good. Trey Lance, big guy, physical guy, has that look about him. Even Mac Jones, he's not a physically gifted guy. He doesn't have a great body, but he understands the game, and that he knows what he's doing, right?
Right.
Justin Fields, same thing. Like there's a confidence with this kid. I don't see the confidence with Zach Wilson. I look at a kid that there's this video circling around on
I think I know what
media.
you're talking about.
Is that everybody's they're posing in the camera, and he's looking like, what the hell is going on here? Like he's like a duck out of water.
I don't think we're in Utah anymore.
Yeah, like he was just looking around like, I don't know what's going on here. You're going to New York. Like, if you're a kid that's looking like that and you're going to the biggest melting pot on the planet, I fear for him.
Right.
I really do, Bryson. Like, I don't think he understands what's ahead of him. And that's why I believe you had Robert Saleh say, hey, listen, we're not looking for you to pick us up. We're going to pick you up. This is why you see the organization taking the steps that they're taking, Bryson. This is not by accident. They are making sure that they surround this kid with so much talent that that he can't fail, because they understand that they're playing with kid gloves. Like they have to approach him with kid gloves. They got to put this kid in bubble wrap and protect him, because he doesn't look like a guy that can lead your team. I'm sorry. He just doesn't look like a franchise quarterback. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Do you feel like talent aside, it's not about the plus arm strength that he has. It's not about the different arm angles that he can throw from. I'm just talking about the look that he has. Does he have a look of a quarterback that you have faith in?
Well, you kind of stole my line there. If he fails, it's not going to be because they didn't put the adequate talent around him.
Right.
I think I love the hire of Robert Saleh. I thought he should have gotten the job last year.
100%.
That they drafted an offensive lineman in the first round last year. They did the same thing this year. They added in my view, a first round talent wide receiver in Elijah Moore from Ole Miss. And so, it's not like Sam Darnold a few years ago where he didn't have jack to work with.
Nothing.
I mean, no weapons, awful offensive line, bad defense. I mean, it was a mess. And so we thought for the longest time that Trevor Lawrence was going to New York until the Jets, messed up big time by beating the Rams and then beating the Browns back to back and just, costing themselves a shot at one of the best quarterback talents coming out of college we've ever seen.
Right.
And so when we're going through that period before, they ended up winning a couple games, I'm thinking, okay, I'm worried about Trevor Lawrence in that the Jets time and time again have screwed up quarterbacks' careers.
Yes.
I was never worried about him worrying about the New York media. That was never ever a question. I think he can handle it.
I agree.
That wasn't the issue. So I'm with you in that Zach Wilson does not what's the word? Exude that kind of confidence that you would want in a future franchise quarterback. And keep in mind, the defenses that this kid's going to have to deal with. New England
my goodness.
got better. You look at the Buffalo Bills are really good defensively. And then you look at the Dolphins are great defensively.
Right.
So he's going to have to, he's going to have to pick up information quickly, or this is going to be a long 2021 for Zach Wilson. He kind of falls in that category for me. I was, kind of the 5 first-round quarterbacks. He kind of falls into that. It depends on what they put around him kind of group.
Yes.
And they've put the talent around him, it appears.
Yes.
Like they've been aggressive. They've drafted well the last couple of years or so. So it's all about, okay, can this kid come out and produce? And I'll put it this way. I'm skeptical. I'm not saying he can't, not saying he's going to be Joe Namath. I'm just saying I'm skeptical.
Right. No, definitely, man. That's the best word to use is skeptical. I think out of the 5 quarterbacks that everybody was talking about, I think he had the biggest question marks to me. Everybody knows what Mac Jones is. Everybody kind of knows what Justin Fields can be, but there were more question marks about Zach Wilson than anybody else. Now, I guess we'll segue into my guy, Mac Jones. Mac Jones.
Here we go.
Mac Jones ends up falling, as I knew he would, after Trey Lance got picked at the by the 49ers. I knew that he would drop right to New England. And this, Bryson, is the perfect place that this type of quarterback can go to. You go with Belichick, you go with McDaniels. They know exactly what that kid does well and what he doesn't do well. And when you have that as a franchise, as a coaching staff, you're going to be fine because you know exactly what his limitations are, but you also know where the strengths are, and they'll be able to more dial that offense up to his strengths because with Brady all of these years, that's how they've played their offense anyway. A lot of quick reads, one-step drops, just get the ball out quickly. Make sure the check down is there. Little 2-3 yard outs. That's how they play. And Mac Jones is going to be very, very successful in that system. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Do you feel that there was a better place for him to land other than San Francisco?
To be honest with you, I actually think landing in New England for him as far as schematically was actually better than San Francisco.
Right.
Because look, Kyle Shanahan likes to move his quarterbacks around, and that would not have worked with Mac Jones. That's going to work perfectly with Trey Lance.
Right.
In the future. So he does go to New England. And again, they did play a style of offense with Tom Brady where it's get the ball out quick, very methodical, not sexy to watch, but it works.
Right.
So
no big plays over the top, just kind of, move the ball upfield. Yeah.
I think the thing that again makes me so skeptical, if you're looking at him specifically with the New England Patriots, is Tom Brady's last year, 2019. They get off to the 8-0 start. They didn't really play anybody, but once they started to play adequate competition, I don't know what happened.
Right.
But the receiving talent just went nosedived.
Yeah.
So it was when you sat back and looked at it, and this is why I pushed toward the end of that year for Tom Brady to leave, which he ultimately did, is they ran the same style of offense that they did for 20 years.
Yes.
But when guys can't get open, then it's a big problem for a quarterback that can't move around, which, Tom Brady is not known for.
Right.
Neither is Mac Jones. So, I know they were showing tape during the draft on ESPN. Booger McFarland was pointing out, like, when this dude gets outside the pocket, he can't outrun defensive tackles.
Right.
So that's my biggest concern, man, is he's got an average arm. He can not even close. People forget Trevor Lawrence can move. He had a 61-yard touchdown run against Ohio State a couple years back. So
he's a big guy, but he can move. Yeah.
Yeah. Zach Wilson can move. We all know Justin Fields and Trey Lance can definitely run.
Right.
Mac can't. And I'm not saying he's got to be, Michael Vick, but he does got to be able to extend plays because in today's NFL in 2021, these offensive coordinators like to move the pocket.
Yeah.
And if you can't deliver those on point throws, then it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, definitely. I think I agree with you on those points in regards to there's challenges ahead of Mac Jones. Like, we have to see what type of player he develops into, because his specs right now, okay, he's not fast, he's not this, but we don't know exactly what this kid's work ethic is. We know how smart he is, we know how quick he can be able to dissect the playbook. It's going to take him a while to get Belichick's and McDaniel's playbook down, because the New England system is not an easy system to understand. Cam Newton said that it was a really, really hard system to kind of learn. Year 2, I think you're going to see Cam a little bit more comfortable in that system. So it kind of takes you 2 years to figure it out. So Mac Jones is going to have enough time to sit there, study, understand what's going on, and when he's ready, they'll be able to unleash him. But I always go with the notion, Bryson, that if you're accurate in high school, if you're accurate in college, you're going to be accurate at the next level as well. You're going to be accurate in the NFL. And Mac Jones is accurate. He knows how to get you the football where you need the football. So other things in regards to improving his foot speed, he can be able to do that. There's things that you can be able to do to create a little bit more quickness, a little bit more pocket awareness. He can be able to learn a little bit of that. You can be able to learn how to audible at the line of scrimmage. You can be able to learn how to possibly, improve your arm strength a little bit. Brady has done that over the years as well in regards to improving his arm strength, keeping that consistent. But accuracy is what's going to allow Mac Jones to be successful in this league. Because if we learn from anybody, Drew Brees never had a great arm, right, but he was deathly accurate. And that's what you're looking for. So I'm curious to see what happens with Mac Jones. We have this bet going. We still have to sign on a dotted line and see exactly what the parameters of this bet is. We'll figure that out. But it's going to be interesting to watch, to see how he develops there, how they utilize him, and how New England goes forward in regards to, are they going to be a relevant team in the next 5 or 6 years? So I'm really interested in seeing that. I think this is going to invigorate and renew some energy with Bill Belichick. I think he's excited about this, because I think that's a guy, besides Fields, I think Mac Jones was a guy that they were really, really looking at and they wanted. So the fact that they didn't have to move anywhere to get him, it worked out well. It worked out very well for them. Let's move on to the NBA. LeBron James comes back and he looks good. Looked good. He went 6 for 12. I think he had 16 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. They ended up losing to the Sacramento Kings last night after having a 9-point lead going into the fourth quarter. They give up 32 points in the fourth quarter, lose that game down the stretch. And I heard Anthony Davis talk that, they're excited about LeBron James being back. But as a Laker fan that I am really, really concerned about this team right now, Bryson. I don't think that they're going to survive as good as people think that they are. Like, there's no switch to turn on. There's no switch for them to say, okay, we're going to figure it out. Like, I don't see that happening. Do you agree with that? Or do you think that there is a switch that they can be able to flip and be able to be one of the best teams in basketball again?
I think LeBron individually, time and time again, has shown us that he can flip the switch.
Yes.
I think what we've seen with this Lakers team in the last month or so, even with Anthony Davis, coming back from injury, is just, similar in some ways to Brooklyn. They got to play together. They got to get some minutes together. That's why I think LeBron kind of had to come back when he did. Right. Because look, you got to get some minutes. You got to get your legs, back into basketball shape. And so, by the way, keep in mind, there's, what do we got? 8 games left in the season.
8 or 9
for the Lakers.
Right.
They're only a game and a half out of the play-in.
Right.
So you got to worry about having to play extra games, do or die games. It's a best of 2. If you lose twice, season's over.
You're out.
And so I think, and I've been consistent on this all season, that home court advantage, and I know more fans are getting back into the arenas, which is great, but I think home court advantage is virtually irrelevant this year. Not as much as last year because it's in a bubble.
Right.
But the only thing different is you're traveling.
Correct.
The fans aren't going to play that much of a factor in your road playoff games. And so, look, when I say, can the Jazz beat the Lakers 4 times in 2 weeks? I say no. I'm actually more concerned about Phoenix now at this point. They're playing good basketball. Chris Paul is playing great. Devin Booker. It's looking like they're going to be the number 1 seed. I actually think Phoenix is the Lakers' biggest problem in the West. You and I feel the same way about the Clippers. They'll find a way to screw it up at some point.
Yes.
Denver, Jokic is unbelievable. I think without Jamal Murray, that's going to really hurt them in the long run.
In the playoffs, especially, yes.
Because in that series, against the Lakers last year in the conference finals, I actually think Jamal Murray outplayed Jokic.
Yes.
And so without him, that's going to hurt them in the long run. Maybe they could push a series with the Lakers 6 games. I don't know, but I can't trust them to beat them 4 times in 2 weeks. The number 1 question for me is whether they can get those minutes together is huge. But once they have to go on these long, road trips for these playoff games, that's kind of where I'm at right now. Obviously, we know what LeBron is, but I even heard him say last night, I may never get back to where I used to be. This ankle injury was that serious. He is 36 years old. Anthony Davis has an Achilles issue, so that's always a red flag.
Right.
So I am also concerned about the Lakers, but then again, when you look at the rest of the West, I don't see anybody that can beat them.
Yeah. I mean, listen, that is the theory, is that when they're right, they're the best team in basketball. Like, the Nets are the Nets, but if the Lakers are right and they're flying all cylinders, they're clicking on it, they're the best. But what I see is something that maybe everybody else doesn't see right now, but I got a picture about what the Lakers will look like when LeBron James is retired. Think about it.
Yeah.
LeBron James is not here anymore. He's retired. He's owning a team somewhere, owning 10 teams or whatever he's doing, being the great entrepreneur and the businessman that he is. And we're stuck here with Anthony Davis being the number 1 guy. That should concern Laker fans.
Can you see that?
Yeah, that should concern Laker fans. So, it's something that I am really, really concerned about. I am nervous about. I don't understand how they're going to be able to function with Anthony Davis as their number 1, because what I saw with him and Drummond and what's his name, Schroeder, it just doesn't seem like a team that is going to contend for a spot in the Western Conference with Anthony Davis as your number 1 guy. I think Anthony Davis is the prototypical number 2 option. He cannot be your alpha dog, and we're in for maybe a really depressing post LeBron career for the Lakers if Anthony Davis is the number 1, because I know he's hurt. I know he's not 100%, but I also don't see the leadership qualities that I expect out of a guy that talented, especially coming off a championship where he was one of the focal pieces of winning that title. I expect more out of Anthony Davis. I don't care if the Achilles is bad. I need to see leadership. And what I'm seeing is a ship that has just been floating out in the water with no guidance. There's no captain. Now the captain's back, and maybe the captain is a little bit more impaired than he used to be, and he can't find the shore anymore. That's how I feel this season is, Bryson. Like, I think that they're so far out that they can't steer this thing back to shore. No matter how good they are, sometimes it's just not your year. And that's what it seems like to me in LA. I just don't think that this is their year. I think next season, I think the Lakers come back strong. I think they come back on a mission. But too many injuries, too much going on, too many moving parts on this team right now. I just don't see contender. I really don't. I don't see contender. We look at them as LeBron and AD. I don't see contender though. I really don't.
Well, I don't know if all the pieces fit together.
Yeah.
I thought they had an outstanding offseason initially when it happened. You get the 6th man of the year, Montrezl Harrell. You trade for Dennis Schroeder. You add Wesley Matthews, who's been a no-show this season. I think Ben McLemore has kind of been what they thought Wesley Matthews would be.
Yes.
My question to you though would be, if the Lakers are not the favorites out west, who do you believe is?
I don't think that there is a favorite. I think that right now the West is more wide open than it's ever been, probably in the last decade or so. Is that there's not one team that I can say is better than the other. Like Utah's okay. Phoenix, they're looking good, but historically, we all know that Chris Paul can't really win the big game. So do you actually trust Chris Paul to get you to the NBA Finals? He's never been there. So, also they're a young team. So they even don't have the experience to even go deep into the playoffs and say, hey, listen, we've been here before. We know how to figure this out when they're down 2-1 or they're down 3-2. Like, they don't have that experience. You have the Dallas Mavericks, another young team. Injury issues with their big man Porzingis. You have the Clippers. I don't even have to say anything about them. Everybody knows when they listen to my show, they know exactly how I feel about the Clippers. You continue to go on, and it's every team has their good stuff and they have their bad stuff. So I think this year is just a melting pot of, hey, if somebody can get hot, I can see them getting to the finals. Not the fact that they're the best team in the West. It may be the hottest team in the playoffs that ends up being in the finals in the Western Conference.
That's almost a little baseball-esque, right? Because we've seen number one season baseball go down in the division series, whereas the hottest team, pitching, offensively, they get to the World Series. I think at the end of the day, if there are no favorites, which I would agree with you there, it comes down to who do you trust the most. You just talked about Chris Paul's had his struggles in the playoffs. The Clippers as an organization have had their struggles in the playoffs.
Yeah.
We don't really trust Utah. I'm going to ride with the ship. I trust LeBron James at the end of the day. You were also discussing, Anthony Davis, and this is something I've said on the show many times, is he's a top 10 player in the league, no doubt. He's as good as they come.
Right.
But is he the guy I want leading my organization for, 15 years? No, I really don't. He's never shown that ability to be that guy that galvanizes an organization.
Right.
He had some not great teams, but decent teams in New Orleans. He had Boogie for a while. He had Drew Holiday and Rondo, and Mirotic was a great shooter. Like, they had some guys there, and it just never really came together.
Right.
So really what you've looked at with the Lakers is it's the reincarnation of the New Orleans Pelicans.
Yes.
Because you've got talent, you've got Harrell, you've got Schroeder, Drummond, but if you don't have that, leadership still, even in the NBA, leadership matters. And
it matters, right.
If you don't have that guy, then it's going to hurt you in the long run. And I think without LeBron, if the Lakers win a full season without LeBron, I don't think they'd be a playoff team.
No, I agree. I think that they're looking at the lottery if you have a full season without LeBron, because it's just, and that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate that Anthony Davis can be such a talented player, but the leadership qualities are not there to be able to hold a franchise down. And the Lakers, they need to understand this thought quickly. I think if Rob Pelinka wants to really push this team forward and put the parts around that's necessary for this team to sustain, long-term success, he has to understand that his second guy is a second guy, not the second guy to be the first in waiting. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not that. He's not that. He is a legit number 2. And if LeBron James is going to be, if his game regresses over the next few seasons, Rob Pelinka is going to have to get somebody else in here. He's going to have to make sure that he gets another guy that can be able to, keep up the scoring, take the pressure off for Anthony Davis. I just don't see Anthony Davis being the guy that can handle LA by himself. I really don't. And, we saw a little sample size of that. Like I said, obviously he's hurt, but I see beyond that. I see how the team functions. I see the confidence. They have no confidence right now. This is not a team they talk. All I hear is circle talk out of them. It's all, we're not worried. Yeah, we're not worried. LeBron is here now. We're fine. We're fine. We're fine. I can read through that because you can be able to tell me something in a press conference. When I see you in a basketball game, I see your faces on the sidelines. That's what tells me the truth. What you say post game doesn't mean anything. I know how to read faces because I played basketball my whole life. I played at a high level. I know exactly what body language and that type of look looks like. When you know that we're in trouble, you know that, man, if we're not hitting any shots tonight, it's gonna be a bad night. That's how they look. Against the Sacramento Kings, that's how they looked. Think about that.
And the Kings got beat by darn near 50 against Utah and gave up 150 points.
There you go. So if Vogel is not concerned, he should be. He should be. This is a team that is floundering. There's no confidence. I think Frank Vogel is trying to find combinations still that work, and he's still not able to do so. I just, as a Laker fan, coming off a championship, Bryson, it feels like the Lakers haven't won a title in 15 years, how I feel right now. It's like I don't feel confident about where they're going. I just don't. Now, can they get it right? Of course. And then probably in a month or so, I'll feel different. But I have to be a realist. I'm not one of those people that are going to come on here and say, oh, they're still the best team. No, there's concern here. And if we are a real fan, you have to understand that and accept that and realize that this may be a lost year. It's okay because injuries happen. Sometimes guys don't fit. That's probably what we're looking at right now. So,
we've seen over and over where there's been teams, I go back to, I'm a Warriors fan. I go back to the 2017-18 season. They're coming off a dominant championship run. They got 16-1 in the playoffs.
Right.
And then the following year, Steph's dealing with injuries. I remember even Clay got hurt. KD's dealing with injuries. Draymond. Everybody got hurt that year. And towards the end of that season, I think they went like 4-6 in their last 2 games. They got just dominated their last game of the season against Utah. And it still was kind of like, you know what? We've got the best team in the world. Get Steph back, we'll be fine. And of course, they had the scare against Houston, but outside of that, they were well on their way to a second straight title.
Right.
The question is that the case with the Lakers? And I think they do need to string together some wins. One for morale, for confidence. Number 2, they have to. Like I said, they're a game and a half out of the play-in. Like they don't want to play extra games. They need a week off before the playoffs more than I think anybody out west.
Correct.
So I think that's the thing you got to look at is if they can flip that switch, like we've seen great teams do in the past, great. But if they can't, then you're in some real trouble.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm worried about how they're going to be able to put this team together in the offseason. Like, say they lose. What is the plan? What is the plan? Because Harrell I'm sure he's going to opt out of his deal, become a free agent, and see if he can be able to make some more money elsewhere, which is fine. You know what I mean? How do you fill out this roster with your 2 stars making that much money and maybe the market is not as strong this season? How do you improve this team? It's really a concern because now Schroeder looks like he wants to test free agency because he wants more money, more than the 4 years, $84 million that they were offering him, which is nuts. He's not even worth that. And he thinks that he's going to get more than that. So, okay, you might lose Schroeder, right? Who's your point guard? Who's your 6th man? Where's your rim protection? Because Drummond's not coming back.
No.
So we're going to be looking at a very peculiar team in this offseason with a ton of question marks. They win this title this year and win back-to-back titles. I think you can kind of be happy or be kind of content if they kind of fall back a little bit, right? Back-to-back titles. It's hard to win 3 straight. Cool. But if they lose in these playoffs, Bryson, this is a very, very big offseason for the Lakers. I'm talking about maybe the biggest in their history, because there's so many question marks. You don't really know what's going on with this roster. They have a ton of free agents. Caruso's up. You have Thornton Tucker, who's up. You have Schroeder, who's up. Drummond, who's up. Harrell, who's up. Gasol, he might as well be up and retire.
Yeah.
Right? Wesley Matthews on a 1-year deal. Listen to what we're talking about here. All you're going to have left is LeBron and AD on this team. How do you fill out this roster? How?
Your guess is as good as mine, man.
I'm telling you, man, they're in some hot water here. So, I'm gonna see how they're gonna be able to finish out the season. I'm interested to see what the playoffs look like. But I had put out a video on Instagram as well as YouTube about the state of the NBA. I wanted to get your point, your take on this. That for years now, the NBA product in the regular season has been very blah to me. It's all about getting to the playoffs. It's all about who's going to play in the playoffs, who's going to be in the finals. We always talk about that in basketball, if you realize, right? In football, it's week to week. We talk weekly about the sport, what's going on, what the trends are, who's hurt, who's going up, who's going down. Baseball, it's the same thing. You can dissect the series. You can dissect, you can kind of go into the next 2 weeks and say, hey, listen, this is a big series coming up, blah, blah, blah. Like, we got to make sure that you finish 7-3 in this homestand to make sure that you have, good momentum going into whatever road series you have or whatever road trip you have. That these things matter in the other sports. In basketball, though, doesn't matter. Like, we don't care about the regular season. Adam Silver doesn't care about the regular season. The players don't care about the regular season. And I think that it's time for them to focus on the divisions. If you make the divisions matter and mean something, I think you put more excitement, you put more drama, you put more suspense into your regular season. You allow fans in their particular marketplaces to feel more joy and excitement for the regular season, because it's like, okay, cool. We possibly are not the number 1 team in the West or the East, but we can win our division and have a top 4 seed. That's what we're looking for. Like, do you think that the NBA, other than this play-in tournament, which is a great idea, do you think that they need to really focus on paying attention to divisions, because they're the only sport that doesn't?
Right. No, I think that's a great idea on your part, because look, in baseball, man, winning the division matters. Huge. It matters. Maybe not as much as it used to be, because now there are 8 teams in the playoffs as opposed to the normal 5, and it used to be 4.
Right.
NFL, it's obviously huge. You at least get one home game. The Washington football team at 7-9 got a home playoff game.
Right.
Let me give you one division though that next year, if what you suggested would come into fruition. The Pacific Division out west, you got the Lakers, you got the Clippers, you got Golden State fully healthy.
Right.
Man, Phoenix.
That would be a war.
That would be crazy, bro.
A war. And listen, and what it would do, Bryson, is it would ignite rivalries.
Yes, it would.
It would really allow people that are fans of whatever team to really get that rivalry going. Like, I said it in the little clip. And that was episode 70 of the All Even podcast. Please check that out. That it, Dodgers Giants is a huge rivalry in baseball. Yep. Like, it doesn't matter if they're good or bad. They hate each other. Yankees Red Sox. It doesn't matter if they're good or bad. The Yankee fans, if you have a plus record against the Red Sox that season, it's a win, and vice versa. That's what divisions do. When you play each other more than once, when you play in each other more than any other people that you're playing, it should matter. And in basketball, we have divisions, right? Pacific Division. We have the Atlantic Division. We have the all of these divisions, but they don't mean anything. So why have divisions? It should just be the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference. Why split them up in divisions? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't.
It doesn't. No, that's I agree with you there. It doesn't matter. And that's, you bring up baseball. You also, you had the Cardinals and the Cubs hate each other.
You
look at, the NFL, when you've got, say, that the Cowboys and the Eagles,
right?
Man, you want to talk about a bitter rivalry. Like you said in the NBA, I know for years, and it was an interconference. It wasn't a division rivalry, but it was interconference. Man, the days of the Warriors-Cavs rivalry,
right,
were great. Outside of last year when it was just LeBron and a bunch of guys against the fully loaded Warriors, those first 3 years, man, you had some. I mean, you had some all-out battles. You had, probably if there was one play that that you could put a stamp on, say, okay, this is one of the great rivalries in NBA history. And it's not a fond one for me as a Warriors fan, but remember Game 6 in 2016 when Steph goes up for the pump fake, LeBron doesn't bite and just blocks him out of bounds. He's talking junk to him.
Yeah.
That was like, and again, as a huge Steph fan, I was like, oh, okay, he means this. we don't see that in the NBA anymore.
See that anymore.
There's no, and you do hear, sometimes you hear these former retired players, they talk about today's game, and sometimes they are hating a little bit.
Yeah.
But I will give them this, that, after games, you're not dapping each other up and hugging and getting exchanging phone numbers and stuff. No, you didn't like each other.
Right.
We can be friends off the court, but we ain't friends, inside the lines.
That's right.
So, I saw what Chris Paul did with Paul George the other night. It was kind of a little old school.
It.
So,
Loved it.
I think it's a brilliant idea. Make the divisions matter. Again, what's the point of having a division if it means literally nothing?
I just don't understand.
You're just playing them a few extra times a year. That's really the only thing it does. But I mean, come on.
I really don't like. It's crazy to me, Bryson, how, like I said, going back, you have intelligent people in these positions, and it's like, how much would it take to just say, yeah, let's just put extra incentive on these divisions, because maybe, it'll make our TV deals a little better. It'll make the local TV deals better, because now people are more invested. People are not invested in basketball the entire season. That's the problem, is that I'm a huge basketball fan, Bryson.
Same here.
And the only reason why I watch games is because I have a podcast to watch them. If I was just, leisurely just watching TV, I'd rather watch a movie than a regular season basketball game, because they've told me that it means nothing. Right? They've told me this. You have, guys that are sitting, you get load management. You got guys that just take days off because they want to take days off. Like
Kyrie.
Yeah, exactly. We're not going to Kyrie, but it's, this is what the NBA, this is what they've created. This is what they've made their fan base believe. I said that you would never watch a movie, right? If the movie's telling you got to focus on the end, like focus on the end credits, There's nothing in the middle of this. There's no subplots. There's nothing going on. It's just the beginning, and then there's the end. You'd never watch that movie. You'd never watch. It would be the worst thing you've ever watched. But yet we watch the NBA every year. That's what it is. That's exactly what it is. We get excited for the start of the season. Everybody's always talking about, okay, what teams are going to be good, blah, blah, blah. And by the time you get here, you don't care. You don't care. You're just waiting for the playoffs, because there's nothing else to wait for. And
that's why, especially once you get towards, Christmas, that's why even, I know the NFL had the great idea, I thought, of having the Saints and the Vikings play a Christmas afternoon game.
Right.
I think the ratings were it was almost double. I think Golden State and the Bucks were playing that day.
Yeah.
That's the second game of the season, man. Who cares? This is the Saints and the Vikings. They played in the playoffs before.
Exactly.
This game meant a lot for the Saints. No, Alvin Kamara had a huge game that afternoon.
Yes.
So, and I think also a few years ago, back when Cleveland and Golden State had that classic game on Christmas, and by the way, there's a regular season game that felt like a playoff game.
Right.
If we could have more of those, man, the NBA the product would be that much better.
Right.
But go back to 2016. I think the Steelers and the Ravens were playing for the division, and the ratings were kind of they were neck and neck for a regular season game and a finals rematch.
Right.
So that's kind of the dilemma that the NBA has right now, and that's something they got to address.
Yeah, 100%. Now let's touch a little baseball. You are a big time Red Sox fan. I don't have any issue with the Red Sox. My Mets have beat the Red Sox in the World Series, so everything's fine. But we had a discussion the other night where the Boston Red Sox had played the Mets at Citi Field, and I said to you that Boston will win this game. And you said to me, okay, I can see how they're going to win the game, but what do you think the score is going to be? And I said 1-0, Boston's going to win. DeGrom is going to have 15 strikeouts possibly, and they're not going to score any runs, and they're going to lose. Bryson, what ends up happening?
1-0.
Have you ever seen anything like this Met conundrum with Jacob DeGrom? Have you ever seen anything like it in baseball?
This year's a little different in other years because the Mets I saw the other night are last in the majors in batting average with runners in scoring positions. So they can't they can't get big at bats. They can't drive these runners in when they absolutely have to.
Yeah.
I swear to you though, I think second inning was when we got our only run. I think it was like just a base hit, guy scored from third. And I swear to you, brother, I was praying. I was like, please, God, I don't want to score the rest of the game. Just keep our pitching. Keep doing what you're doing. I think we only gave up like 2 or 3 hits. Just keep it going, man. But this will be classic. This will be the classic Jacob DeGrom start. 6 innings, 3-4 hits, 1 earned run. Man has an ERA of 0.51.
Ridiculous.
And I was telling you the other night when we were talking about this, like, I remember a couple of years ago, I think it might have been 2018, 2019, when it was between DeGrom and Scherzer. And Scherzer had a great year.
Yes.
But they were saying Scherzer has like a 22-4 record and DeGrom was like 8-9.
Right.
And I've always believed this. A pitcher's record is the worst way to judge him.
Agreed.
ERA is what's all about.
Right.
ERA
whip. Yes.
And so, Scherzer's ERA was hovering just under 3. DeGrom's was like 1.8 something. So it was not the man's fault that they were. What was the game last week or a couple weeks back where he drove in 2 runs and gave up 1?
He's been doing it all season. He's batting 500. He has like 4 or 5 RBIs. He may, if he goes on this pace, he may end up winning the Silver Slugger as a pitcher. Like, this is what I don't get it. I am so furious with this Met team because here's my problem with them, and I want to know if you agree, and then we'll talk a little Boston Red Sox baseball a little bit. I don't think that Luis Rojas is a good manager. That's one, and I don't feel that these batters understand situation. Like, they don't look prepared. They look like they're all in over their heads. I think the only person that I'm going to give a pass to is Lindor because, other Met fans, Lindor is playing terrible. He's spent his entire career in the American League. It takes time for him to adjust to National League pitching. It's a different game. It's different pitchers. You gotta, you gotta do your homework in regards to what you're seeing out there and certain matchups and analytics and all that stuff. He's gonna do fine and adjust. It's the other guys that concern me. Michael Confortos, the James McCanns. Brandon Nimmo's having a deep, but all these guys, Pete Alonso, even he's okay, but we're just not. Every time I see them, they just can't get a hit. I've seen bad offenses with my teams over the years. I've seen them. This is probably the worst I've seen. And they're awful. Not bad. They don't have bad players, but they are not hitting. So what do you think is the problem? Like, is there something that can be fixed, or is it just something where they're just all going through a slump together? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
There's a lot of things that's in play. I agree with you. I think Rojas is not a good manager whatsoever.
Awful.
I think it really, I genuinely felt bad for Mets fans a year ago when you had the whole Astros cheating scandal go down and Beltran lost his job.
Broke my heart.
And I really did think that he was going to be the guy that could possibly turn this franchise around.
Definitely.
And of course that didn't happen. The Mets didn't really do much last year. And this year, Obviously, they had Francisco Lindor, and I'm thinking, and they signed him to the extension. I'm like, okay, here we go. Maybe they compete for the NL East.
Right.
Hasn't been the case so far. Now, we're only 20-something games in. Long way to go.
Long season.
Maybe they are in a slump together as a team. Maybe that's the case because they do have talent. They do have good hitters on their roster. You talk about Conforto had a great batting average not that long ago. You look at Francisco Lindor, best shortstop in the game.
Yeah.
You look at Pete Alonso, one of the best power hitters in the game. They've got a solid lineup. Is it about? Does it all come down to managerial decisions? Does it all come down to the inability to come up in clutch situations against the Nationals and against the Braves, other teams in the NL East? That to me is the key for the New York Mets right now.
Right. Now with the Boston Red Sox, they're in first place right now. They look great. I think that they're surprising a lot of people. I don't think that anybody picked Boston to be this good early on. What are your thoughts on how they've started, how they look, and what is your biggest takeaway from the team so far?
The biggest takeaway for me is pitching. That was my biggest concern going in. The offense is fine. You got JD Martinez going back to his 2018 self, leading the league in homers. Xander Bogaerts is one of the most underrated players in baseball. Rafi Devers, third baseman, has had an unbelievable season. I thought, obviously I was just shattered when they traded Mookie Betts to the Dodgers, but the guy they got, Alex Verdugo, he's looked pretty solid out in left field.
Yeah.
But pitching to me was the biggest concern going in because that was the biggest problem the last couple of years. 2019 coming off the World Series title, only won 81 games. And then last year, didn't even compete for a playoff spot in the American League, and the pitching was just awful. Starting pitching, bullpen, that has been my number one takeaway with the Red Sox. And that's why I think they probably have the upper hand on the Yankees right now, because the Yankees, for years, how long have the Yankees been looking for an ace? I thought they had it in Garrett Cole, but he's gotten off to a start, and their bullpen is not very good. So that's why I think right now the Red Sox got the upper hand of the Yankees. They'll get it together. New York will. They'll get back in the division picture. Again, it is a long season. Today's May 1st. So, but I thought the Red Sox could be a surprise team in the American League, looking objectively as a Sox fan, but I didn't see first place in the division 20-something games in.
Yeah, definitely, man. Like I said, they have surprised me. The Yankees, I tried to tell my Yankee friends that this team, they're very top heavy, and for what I'm seeing, it's not. They've kind of dodged the bullet the last couple of years, Bryson, in regards to they've had a ton of injuries. I've never seen a baseball team have that many injuries, and they still are, they still ended up having a good season in regards to, winning so many games and being so close to contendership in a World Series and all that stuff. And it's like, at some point though, it does catch up to you. Like sometimes you're not that lucky, and it may be that situation now where they're just not that lucky. Now, it's still early, but I always tell people as well, it doesn't matter what team you root for. Even though it's early, there's certain trend lines that you have to pay attention to. There's certain things that your team does that if they continue to do, it's going to have them come up short, whether it be the division, whether it be winning a championship. And the Yankees are a team that don't get situational hits. They are not good with runners in scoring position. They are a home run hitting team, and that's it. When you're a home run hitting team, it's not a good place to be because, swinging for the fences every time out is just, it's not plausible. It really isn't.
You know who they remind me of a little bit is because obviously I'm not anti-analytics. I want to make that clear. I'm not anti-analytics. I think you have to use them to some degree.
Yes.
But the Houston Rockets were also top heavy.
Yes.
They had James Harden, Chris Paul, obviously D'Antoni as the head coach. It took 53s a game. But once they ran into the monster in Golden State, it all fell apart.
Exactly. Yes.
When, you're the Yankees, even when the Yankees, who are more top heavy than, say, a team like the Tampa Bay Rays, Tampa Bay, they don't have big name guys.
Nope.
But man, are they deep.
Right.
By the way, I don't know why they traded Blake Snell. That'll never make sense. But great pitching, unbelievable bullpen, best bullpen in baseball. Guys like you mentioned, get situational hits.
Yes.
That is, again, that's been the bugaboo for the Yankees for the last few years since I guess the rise of Aaron Judge, if you will, and then trading for Giancarlo Stanton.
Right.
That's why I think what's held them short. They matched up, and I get it. Houston was using buzzers and trash cans and all kinds of crap, but it was that's what they ended up running into is a team that, for their cheating ways, they were deeper than the Yankees.
Yes.
So that was what ended their season in 2017 and 2019. And a deep team like Boston in 2018 went out in 4 games.
Right. Right.
So that's kind of where I'm at with the Yankees right now. They rely too much on analytics. They're swinging for the fences every time. And look, when you got power hitters like the 2 guys they have, along with other guys like DJ
LeMahieu,
who's the first baseman's name? Voit. Voit's a great power hitter. That they have guys that can hit the ball 450 plus feet. But do I trust them to just get on base? Just get on base. Stop the momentum of the other squad. No, I don't trust them to do that.
Yeah. I guess, okay, last question with the baseball, and then we'll wrap up. We'll go to rapid fire after this. Do you see anybody touching the Dodgers?
No. No, I don't. No, they haven't played great in recent. I got to be honest with you. I think their biggest threat in the National League is the team within their division, the Padres. I freaking love Fernando Tatis, man.
Yes,
I love watching him.
So much vigor and so much energy that he brings to the game, man.
Yeah. I mean, obviously they got Machado and they got Hosmer. I think they're the Dodgers' biggest threat. Maybe they push them 6 or 7 in a championship series, but man, this team's so deep. I mean, the rotation, you got Buehler and Kershaw, and I don't know if David Price is going to be back soon. You got Trevor Bauer, former Cy Young winner. Obviously, you got 2 former MVPs and Mookie Betts and Cody Bellinger, and you got guys like Muncy and Josh Turner. I mean, this team is stacked. Stacked. I darn sure don't see anybody in the American League touching them once we get to the World Series in late October, but man, outside the Padres, maybe. I can't see anybody touching the Dodgers.
Yeah, I agree, man. They are a scary baseball team. Like they don't have a weakness. Every baseball team you can be able to say, okay, they don't have this particular thing. They don't have
the bullpen's a little iffy, but outside of that, no.
But with that starting pitching, man, come playoff time, they can do so much creativity in regards to how they situate their rotations or who they have in the bullpen and who they don't. They are a dangerous team, and they can beat you in so many ways, which is the scary part. You know what I mean? It's phenomenal. So I agree with you. I don't think that when they're on the top of their game, there's nobody that can even touch them. When they're on, if they're having a struggle in regards to if they go 20-24 in a 6 or 8 week span, I still don't feel that anybody can be able to touch them. And that's the scary part. Even when they're bad, they're still good. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
even when they're bad, they're still good. So, I agree with you with that. But, the baseball season has been very exciting so far. I love what I'm seeing. I love baseball, period. I just, that's my favorite sport. So I tend to watch more baseball games than I watch anything else. So, definitely excited to see the rest of the season. But let's get into rapid fire, my man Bryson.
Let's do it.
I am going to spit off some names, and I want to know who you think is better than who. I'm not going to debate you. This is just all your opinion. Best hitter of all time. Would you say it was Pete Rose or Derek Jeter?
Pete Rose.
Okay. Best third baseman of all time. Are you going to go Alex Rodriguez or do you go Nolan Arenado?
Nolan Arenado is better defensively. I would go with Arenado.
I like Arenado. Best slugger. Would you have Albert Pujols or would you have Mark McGwire?
Albert Pujols.
That's fair. Better pitcher. Nolan Ryan, Roger Clemens.
Nolan Ryan, without a doubt.
Okay, let's see. Better Red Sox pitcher. Roger Clemens, Pedro Martinez.
Pedro. I'm going Pedro all day. All day.
All day. Okay. Here's another one that may trip you up. Better Red Sox. Manny Ramirez, David Ortiz.
David Ortiz. Manny, man, I love Manny, but Manny was my guy, but nah, Big Papi.
Okay. Let's see. Most underrated Red Sox. Trot Nixon. or
Man, you're going for it.
Or Nomar Garcia Parra.
Oh, I love Nomar. I love Nomar, man.
Yo, listen, Nomar was one of the most underrated players. Like, he was one of the best shortstops when he was playing, man. It was always him, A-Rod, and Jeter that were in that mix. You know what I mean? Like, you're a young guy, but I'm sure you remember that. You know what I mean?
Of course.
But let's see. Okay. Better player, Ken Griffey or Barry Bonds?
Ken Griffey.
Nice. Okay. Better scorer in the NBA. We're just talking about scoring now, not overall player. James Harden or Michael Jordan?
Michael Jordan.
Nice. I think I know where you're going with this. I'm going to ask you anyway. Who would you rather have at point guard? This is the first pick that you're going to have on your team. You got to build your team up. Steph Curry or Allen Iverson?
That's actually kind of hard.
Yeah.
I love AI, but I got to go with Steph.
Okay. Better pure passer, Magic Johnson or LeBron James?
Magic, but not by much.
Not by much. I like that. Let's see. This may be a hard one too. Better athlete, LeBron James or Russell Westbrook?
LeBron. LeBron was an all-state football player as well.
That's fair. Okay, let's see. Better three-point shooter, Reggie Miller or Ray Allen?
Reggie.
Nice. Okay, let's see. Better player, Tracy McGrady or Paul George?
I actually think Paul George is a better overall player. Whole package.
You're the first one that's ever said that.
I can't just let the bubble cloud me. Listen, we all know what he is in the playoffs. But
yeah. Nah, that's fine, man. I like that. That's what I'm saying. It's all your opinion. I'm not going to fight you on it. Better defender, Draymond Green or Dennis Rodman?
Draymond can guard 1 through 5.
So can Dennis.
That's fair. That's fair. Dennis.
That's fair. That's good. Let's see. Better big man, and I'll give you 3. Is it Hakeem Olajuwon, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, or Shaquille O'Neal?
Kareem.
Nice. Okay. Last question. Who would you rather have taking the final shot?
I love this question.
Would you have Kobe Bryant, Joe Johnson, Paul Pierce, or Dame Lillard?
All these guys are so clutch, man. Kobe. All day.
You're going Kobe.
All day.
You're going with the Mamba.
All day.
That's right. I like that. Respect, man. Well, Bryson, listen, this was fun, man. I thank you for coming on the show, bro. Definitely going to have you on again at some point. So, just let everybody know where they can find you, what you got going on, because, you're out there working, man. You got to tell people that you're out there working.
So, starting in January, I started, broadcasting my show live. It's on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. On Twitter, you can follow me at Carving It Up Pod. Obviously, YouTube is Carving It Up with Bryson Carver. Same with Facebook. I live stream Monday, Thursday, and Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. You can find the podcast on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and Anchor. So just inviting people to check out the content. I've had you on the show before. I've had other great guests on the show. So just hope everybody checks it out.
Yeah, definitely, man. Listen, just keep working. And, we talk all the time. Anything you need, I'm here.
Likewise, man.
So, yeah, thank you. And, continue to do what you're doing, man. I'm always listening. I'm always in that live. Every time you have your show, I'm always in there dropping a comment. So,
you're always there.
Yeah, I'll always be there, man. So, I look forward to hearing some more and, continue to have success in what you're doing, man.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on.
I'd like to thank my homie Bryson for coming on the show. I said, bright future. If he continues to want to pursue this, man, he gonna have something special. But either way, man, you definitely got big things coming. Just don't throw shade at my man Mac Jones. It's not allowed on my show. It's not allowed on any platform that I'm on. No Mac Jones hate. None. Coming up after the break, the greatest segment on the planet, Dummy of the Week, on a Saturday. It's All Even.
This is Cigar Gents and Gals. Just want to give a shout out to All Even Podcast, the best sports podcast out there. Keep up the amazing work. Also check us out at cigargentsandgals.com. We're everyday apparel for cigar smokers. Let's get it.
What's going on? What's up with you? It's your boy the Candyman, the ALFRE to the D. It's your boy Alfred from the Rap Lab Podcast.
And it's the one and only True G. Just call me the QG from the Rap Lab Podcast.
And you tuned in to All Even with Barry Grant.
Boy, that shit crazy.
Welcome back, y'all. So without further ado, the greatest segment on the planet, Dummy of the Week.
Dummy, yeah.
We pick candidates on Tuesday and Saturday, and then we pick the winner on that Saturday show. So Kevin Love was the candidate on Tuesday, and felt good to let him have it. But unfortunately, he's not the winner. There's somebody better. May I have the drum roll, please? And the winner is Tim Tebow, former NFL quarterback, college football analyst, former minor league player for the Mets. He recently retired from that too. Tim Tebow is because he recently reached out to Urban Meyer and the Jacksonville Jaguars about trying out at the tight end position for the team. And the team is actually thinking about it. They're actually having internal discussions about this. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Tim Tebow was one of the most decorated quarterbacks in all of college football history, but he was the worst quarterback you can ever see. He was awful. Throwing the football was not a strength. He had horrible mechanics. He did not want to change. Anybody that came to him and said, hey, buddy, maybe you should try running back or tight end. You'll be great at those things. He said, no, I want to play quarterback. My path is at quarterback. Then flushed out of the NFL, and people said, hey, how about you go to the CFL and, harness your skills there, get better. No, I don't want to do that. Maybe you should play tight end. Maybe you should really try out for tight end and see if any NFL teams want you. No. I want to play quarterback. So nobody calls him. Nobody cares about this gentleman anymore. He becomes an analyst. Great. Then he comes off of his analyst job and he starts to play baseball. Wants to fulfill his dream being a baseball player. Hasn't played since High school. This is easy, right? I played in high school. It's the same thing. Wrong. He was down there and striking out left and right, embarrassing himself. Then he actually caught a groove and, got promoted a couple times. He didn't make it to the major leagues, but, he dabbled down there in the minors for a little bit. He earned some people's respect. And I thought that the world was done with Tim Tebow in regards to him trying to play a sport. Wrong. I was wrong. So all these years that people have been telling you, hey, maybe you should try playing tight end. Now it actually starts to process in your head. Now when you're an old ass athlete, when nobody cares, now you want to play tight end. If this ain't the most desperate move to keep yourself relevant, I don't know what is. He's like 34 years old now, and now he want to play tight end. And shame on Urban Meyer. Shame on Urban Meyer for even entertaining this. For even entertaining this notion. Because now you're giving him a shot. You're giving him hope so he can continue to do nonsense. And I'm telling you right now, I'm predicting it. If Tim Tebow doesn't get into the NFL as a tight end, he's going to try UFC. He's going to try UFC. Maybe he'll call the WWE. Maybe he'll try to be a professional bowler. But I can tell you this, Burger King is hiring. Burger King always wants you. I hope Dana White picks up the phone and calls you. Because maybe if a UFC fighter knocks you the hell out, you'll just stop this. You'll just stop terrorizing us with all of these attempts to be an athlete. It's over. There's been plenty of guys that play quarterback in college, and once they get to the combine, guys say, hey, listen, I think that you'll be better off playing this position because you're going to have a more lucrative and long career. And guess what? They're right. But you are the only person that feels that they were special. Now, I don't want to listen to guys who know more than me. I'm going to play quarterback. And I'm going to throw like a third grader with no direction. If Jacksonville turns you down, you know you got to be bad. So I hope for the best. And if they do turn you down, there's always celebrity boxing. Call Nate Robinson. Ask him for advice. So Tim Tebow, you get chance after chance and you keep taking these L's. But today, you're a winner for Dummy of the Week. That's all for this show. That's all for this week. I'll see you guys on Tuesday. Until then, stay safe, stay cool. Peace. You can catch me on Twitter and Instagram at All Even Podcast. Listen to the show on Anchor, Spotify, SoundCloud, and wherever podcasts are available. And check out my YouTube channel, All Even Podcast. And don't forget to share, like, and hit that subscribe button.